everybody. This is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. And I'm here with my co-host, my co-star, Tianna Mick, aka T Got Your Keys. What's up, T?
Hey, millionaires. Super excited to be back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely. Well, T, we got a special edition today. This is all about the election season and the holiday season and its impact on the automotive industry. You ready?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm super excited about this one.
Okay, well, first and foremost, today is election day. It is election day. We're about to vote on the president of the United States. Are you excited? I know you're excited.
I'm ready.
Okay. Don't say you're ready, but she's not ready. Like Tiffany Haddish, she ain't ready. Is she ready? Is she really ready?
I'm ready.
All right, good. So here's the thing. Let's tackle the election first. First and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody gets up and votes, because there's nothing worse than a bunch of backseat drivers complaining about, this politician, complaining about that politician, complaining about this policy, that policy, and we don't do anything about it. So this is the one time every 4 years where we get a voice to be able to say, who should be, our president. So, T, did you vote? I know I did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did my little mail-in ballot. And I want to just touch back on what you said, Sean, because it's so true, right? Like every day, we are faced with choices and decisions, especially in the dealership. And we do have that voice to say, hey, I don't like this policy. Hey, I don't like this change. But election time comes around, once every 4 years, which is insane. But every day at your dealership, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you have the power to, kind of vote in your own dealership for different policies, processes, who should be in management and things like that. So, take that power with you every day. Even as you're listening to this, right? You have the power to make some change today. You don't got to wait 4 years. You don't got to do all that. So I just want to kind of prefix the conversation with that you do have the power to choose right now, guys.
I do love it, Tiana, and I want to just hammer this home. I think that it is one of our incredible rights as an American citizen to be able to vote for our elected officials, especially the president of the United States. I mean, I want to just hammer this home. If you're not happy about something, especially if it was with the current administration, you either voted for them or you didn't, or you didn't vote at all. You know what I mean? So again, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So I just wanted to say one more final time that if you haven't voted yet today, take this podcast with you and go vote. Or as soon as you're listening to this awesome episode on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, go and cast your vote. But it is super important that you vote more than ever before in the history of our country. We need leadership. We need structure. We need infrastructure. So with that being said, let's now go into this, Tiana. There's a lot of people that have waited, these prospects, a lot of prospects are waiting until the election before they make a buying decision. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why? Let's unpack that. Well, again, I've been in the industry for 26 years, and it would drive me crazy when I go to sell a car and somebody's like, I'm waiting until after the election. And I'm thinking to myself, what really is going to change with the elected official that's not relevant right now? So first thing I want to say before we unpack that is this. It is our job at the dealership to create urgency. It is our job at the dealership to create excitement. It is our job at the dealership to get people to want to buy a car today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next president, but today. So again, it is people's job as prospects to tell us why they don't want to buy a car today, or why they shouldn't buy a car today, or why they can't buy a car today, or why it's in their best interest to wait for the new president of the United States. So again, look, I don't want to open up this Pandora's box, but it's like somebody saying, I'm going to wait till I get my income tax return before I buy a car. Buyers are going to create whatever reason in their mind. They're going to create whatever justification. They're going to create whatever scenario that fits their situation. T, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's so right, Sean. In sales alone, especially in car sales, right? It's objections, rebuttal, objection, rebuttal. I mean, that's all we're practiced and trained to, go back and forth with. But as we were just saying, like, the election only comes up every 4 years. So the new market is totally shifted. The sales floor is probably totally changed. Nobody's trained to kind of be equipped with these, rebuttals for these objections. And key point to what you said is every customer is going to have their objection, right? And because it is election time, that is their big top of mind awareness reason of why they need to wait, why they need to not make that move. But in sales, going back to what I said, that's literally our job, is to ask questions, qualify, show them why it is the perfect time to buy, and really just seek first to understand. Because I think in car sales, especially, we're just like, buy, buy, I don't understand. Why are you not buying? Really kind of ask those qualifying questions, which we're going to go into in this podcast, kind of how, you can ask a customer that without sounding really abruptly, but really making sure that we do qualify these customers and making sure we're asking those specific things that we need to, regardless of election or not. That's just our job.
Again, I want to hammer that point home. If we are automotive sales professionals, if we are BDC reps, if we are sales managers, GSMs, GMs, and absolutely if we're dealer principals, if we are automotive, it is in our DNA, it is in our molecular structure that we are designed to be able to create urgency, to create excitement. It's the why buy from us. It's the value package proposition. Whatever negative they have, hey, now is probably the best time to purchase a vehicle. And here's why, boom, boom, boom. But I got to just give a shout out to you, T. You were thoroughly prepared for this podcast. So, folks, I'm gonna just tell you, I'm super proud of Miss Tianna Mick over here because she basically has this thing broken down to a brief overview of the upcoming election and the significance, how the election outcomes often affect various sectors, including automotive, and then key factors that dealers and sales professionals should be paying attention to. So here's some potential election outcomes and what they could mean for automotive, professionals. So T, let's start at the top, tax policies and economic incentives. Okay, so let's just start with that. Corporate and personal taxes. Changes to tax policies can influence dealerships' profitability and how much consumers can spend on vehicles. Higher corporate taxes might mean tighter budgets for expansion, marketing, or staffing, while tax breaks could encourage growth investments. Can you share with us a little bit about electric vehicle EV incentives?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, as you guys know, different administrations may prioritize, green energy differently, regardless of what side, they definitely have a stance, whether they're pro or kind of against it. So an increase in EV tax credits or incentives could kind of drive up that EV required demand, right? So then dealers are now required to adjust their inventory, adjust their strategies, adjust their processes, but most importantly, train their sales team and technicians, right? That's a big one, on how to equip for, this EV in fluctuation or possibly this EV decline. Because I actually worked at a dealership who was really heavily preparing for all these new EVs to come in. They were hiring all these techs, all these equipment. And it really didn't skyrocket as much as they expected. So they kind of put all this money and resources into EVs, and it really didn't get them that far. So obviously that could switch, with this upcoming election, but we never know. That's obviously a proactive thing they were doing, but it kind of put them, a step back.
I wanna kind of go down this rabbit trail for a little bit because Tiana, you're spot on. There was this big push like last year for EVs, EVs, EVs. And to your point, I want to hammer home. I'm going to use General Motors for example. If you are a Buick dealership, I know a lot of Buick dealerships that said, man, screw this. This is way, way too much trouble and it's worth to buy, take your dealership back. So there was a lot of people that gave up their Buick dealerships because it was just so expensive to recondition because that was left on the dealer. The manufacturers weren't coming in and converting, all these EV service bays, these EV charging centers, and these EV,
Yeah.
realities. The dealer had to do that. And so to your point, when the EVs didn't skyrocket and take off, all these dealers that invested all this money or gave up their franchise because it was too expensive to entertain. It's just been like, well, womp womp. So yes, I definitely think that, the election is going to, kind of determine, who the new president is. in some of the the tax policies and economic incentives, because part of the problem with these EVs, Tiana, is that they weren't giving out these $7,500 rebates or these $7,500 tax credits. So if
Mm.
the new administration that's in power puts these tax, breaks in, or these tax rebates in there, then yeah, it's going to motivate people to want to go and buy EVs and so on and so forth. All right, so I like that. Can you talk about the regulations on emissions and vehicle standards?
Yeah, so kind of touching on EV, is emissions and fuel standards, right? So tightened emission standards can push manufacturers, our OEMs, into producing more of these hybrid or EV models. So, like I said, kind of touching back on the EV conversation we just had, this whole fuel, emission standard, is also another hurdle that us dealers and consumers need to, think about because it could either be good or it could be, bad. And then that also kind of leads us into, safety standards as well. All these different regulations, kind of looking at it as like, which side of the grass is greener, right? It's where you water it. So exactly what Sean said. All these dealers that gave up their dealerships, gave up their entire store just because of this EV fad. I'm sure they're regretting it right now. But vice versa, I'm sure all these people that were investing all this money into the technology to prepare for it, they're kind of regretting it too because, they spent a lot of money on something that really didn't come to fruition. So touching on emissions and fuel standards, safety, and
Wait a minute.
standards.
Before we go into the same thing, let's just say, so this is important. Relaxed standards can mean a prolonged demand for traditional combustion engine vehicles, which may remain more affordable for consumers. So again, depending on what the new candidate is, or the new president, I should say, is going to be, it's going to kind of determine the policy and whether, bottom line is this, whether we have more EVs, more hybrids, or more of the standard gas combustion, vehicles. This is going to be determined. But what you mentioned before, Tiana, but you didn't say the other word is autonomy. So we're talking about the safety and the autonomy standards. This is talking about changes in safety regulations, autonomous vehicles. This is for the vehicles that self-drive. You've heard these horror stories with Tesla. This car killed this person, this car killed the other person. This is another detail that is going to
Yeah.
be left up to the new administration is what are the new laws for autonomous vehicles, for self-driving vehicles? Tesla just came up with that whole concept of the Tesla taxi, where it doesn't even have a steering wheel and it's going to be completely autonomous. And again,
Yeah, or can I have my Tesla bot drive my car for me, right? Like what are those do they have to go through safety driving school? Like it's so crazy all this technology that's coming up. But I think what's really interesting, Sean, especially, to right now, is how the impact of interest rates and financial markets is this is gonna have, regardless of the outcome. We're gonna have a different, economy, we're gonna have different interest rates, we're gonna have a whole different market. So kind of give me your thoughts on that.
absolutely. With that said, I need to say that what you've noticed is that I'm trying to be neutral. Obviously, I voted, today, and I'm very passionate about my candidate, and I'm sure Tiana voted, and she's passionate about her candidate. But this show, I don't want to turn it into my opinion or Tiana's opinion on who the right candidate is, because I don't think it's appropriate. I think that, we're all professionals here. We're all adults, and we need to find what's or who is the best based on our values and our thoughts and our beliefs. So, with that being said, we're not going to cover the individual candidates' pros and cons. However, I will say what Tiana just said is, again, very accurate. One of the biggest things that people are saying is why they do want to wait is, hey, I want to wait till after the election because, man, everything's more expensive. The price of the vehicles are more expensive. The interest rates are more expensive. The floor plan is more expensive. The financing is more expensive, and there's more oversight. So when we talk about the interest rates in the financial markets, let's just start with the interest rate shifts.
Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is on your radio.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business. We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Coons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
They're the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand.
What I learned from Bradley On Demand is you can teach an old dog new tricks. I thought I knew it all.
I thought it was just going to be the same old stuff. It's all new. It's all fresh. It's genuine material.
Bradley On Demand is just an incredible power tool. Every dealer should take advantage of that.
Our clients love Bradley On Demand. We've generated over $12 billion of additional revenue for our clients.
Went from selling 75 internet leads to we've hit almost 250 the last couple months.
I doubled my income. I sold 21 cars for 4 months straight.
If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
Different political administrations influence fiscal policy, which impacts interest rates. Rising interest rates typically increases monthly payments, making vehicle loans more expensive for buyers. Lower rates reduce loan costs, which could boost affordability in vehicle sales, particularly for new cars. And that's where the issue's been. When we get into credit availability, though, policies that make credit more accessible to individuals with varying credit scores can widen the customer base, giving more people access to financing. Stricter lending policy may limit some buyers' ability to qualify for auto loans. So bottom line, T, is that people are right. If we're honest about this, hell, there's a huge difference between Harris and the Democratic Party versus Trump and the Republican Party. That's the big difference, is how the two different the Democratic and Republican Party feels, the way you should spend money, the way that you tax, the way that you incentivize. So again, we're not going to be able to completely overcome that objection. However, what I would say is some logical things. So T, let me kind of freestyle a little bit here. So if I had a prospect and it was Tianna that said, "Hey, Sean, look, I do love this vehicle. However, I'm going to wait till the election so I could see what the interest rates are, this, that, and the other thing." So here's what I'm going to reply. Here's my word tracks. Okay. First of all, you want to never make somebody feel stupid, especially when it comes to politics, religion, or their money. So I want to say something that's simple and disarming, like, Tianna, I totally understand where you're coming from. I could totally appreciate how you feel. Or, Tianna, you're not alone. A lot of people that I speak to feel the same way. You could use that feel, felt, found objection rebuttal. So it's, I feel the same way as you do. You don't have to say that if you don't want to, but you could say, I feel the same way as you do. Other people have felt the same way that we do. Boom, boom, boom. And what they found is boom, boom, boom. So you could use the feel, felt, found, or you could just use an empathetic thing where you're like, listen, I understand why you feel that way. I understand what you're saying, and you're not crazy. You don't want to say that, but you wanted them to feel that, you're not crazy, Tianna. You're not the only person that I've heard say that. It makes sense. I mean, first and foremost, you got to understand that a automotive purchase is one of the largest purchases that the average American will ever purchase in their entire lifetime. And that is without a global pandemic or post-pandemic reality. That's without there being a major new car deficiency. That's without, all these interest rates and everything skyrocketing. Just in normal times, it's a difficult thing. So you're not weird. However, I want to say this to you, Tianna. Vehicles depreciate. Okay, so whether it's a new car or a pre-owned car, if you're looking for a new vehicle or a newer vehicle, the vehicles depreciate. So as you're waiting, these vehicles are going to lose more value on a daily basis. What's also important for you to understand is if you are going to trade in your vehicle, and 75% of all car deals involve a trade. If you're driving a vehicle right now, that too is a depreciating asset, and more so than a brand new car. Again, and so both the new or newer vehicle you're looking at is a depreciating asset. Your current vehicle that you're trying to possibly get trade in, equity is a depreciating asset. So remember, as you're waiting for things to change, they might not change. They might get worse. And on top of getting worse, you're losing the value or the equity in there on a daily basis. Now, on top of all of that, if a prospect tells you that they're waiting because the interest rates, a lot of these manufacturers now have interest rate, discounts, whether it's 2.9, 1.9, or 0%. I'm seeing certain manufacturers have that. So what does that have to do with the election? If your manufacturer is already discounting rates, this, that, and the other thing, then that neutralizes or negates that objection of I want to wait for the election for the rates. Why? We have 0% now. It doesn't get better than 0%, or it's 1%. It doesn't get much better than that. Tianna, does that make sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. And I love the point that you said, right? Like what we're looking at here is both depreciating assets. Like let's be honest, right? When you're buying a vehicle, nobody says I'm going to buy, all these new cars so that way I can all these Chevy Cruises and I'm going to they don't make those anymore. And I'm going to flip them all. It's not what you do, especially in our market right now. So being a car salesman as myself, I would say, absolutely, Sean. I completely understand how you feel. As exactly what you said, these are depreciating assets. We're not here to make an investment, honestly. The biggest of a financial investment, the biggest investment, honestly, here at the dealership we're here to make is solving your problem. So whether that be customer, I know you said you wanted to make sure your son had enough room when he picked up all of your friends and his friends to go to soccer practice. That's the kind of investment that we're making here, is making sure you're safe, the conveniency, regardless of how this election is going to, the outcome is going to turn. We're not making a financial investment right now. So I don't want you to really look at those interest rates, really look at the market, because I know 6, 7, 8 months down the road, I am going to be able to put you in a better situation, regardless of the situation that you're in now. Does that make sense, Sean? I'd say something like that.
Yeah.
That's good. And I'm also going to add my little 2 cents in. This is L.A. Williams, by the way. And I'd say something like this. So my friend L.A. Williams is totally blind. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because he has to do things differently based on his circumstances. He always says, I'm not going to let things I can't control me. In other words, I'm not going to let outside contributing factors become my determining factors. And I would encourage you, Mr. Customer, to look at things the same way, right? Like you got to say, listen, I can't control the interest rates. I can't control this or that. But here's what I do know. My family and I need a vehicle today. And so if that requires me to take certain action, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let some outside circumstance, government, anything I can't control what I do for my family. Just not going to do it. Providing it's legally, ethically, and morally right. You know what I mean.
I would agree. At the bottom line is that when somebody says they're waiting because of interest rates, I think there's so many different things you could say in response or in rebuttal. Again, the depreciating asset, or assets plural. The fact that a lot of the OEMs have low interest rates. Here's another one. Mr. Customer, we have a nationwide network of banks and lending institutions that have different programs for different situations. Again, it's not just the OEM, financial that we have. There might be credit unions. There might be, other, tier 2 banks that are not thought of at first. But I think that that's probably one of the easiest things to overcome if somebody says that they want to wait for the election for the interest rate. Now, as far as credit availability, again, this is something else. I don't feel that if somebody's got bad credit or no credit, that the new president is going to really make a difference. And what I would say is the truth. I was a special finance manager, and I understand how this works. We have a nationwide network of banks and lending institutions that have different programs for each and every different credit situation. What is really important for you to know, Mrs. Prospect, Tianna, is that I am a credit specialist. I have a nationwide network of banks and institutions. This is what I specialize in, and I'm just being totally transparent with you. It's not predicated upon who the president is or isn't. It's more my ability as a credit specialist and as a credit manager to be able to leverage my expertise and my experience with my partners of lenders to find the right bank for you that's going to get you the absolute best rate, the absolute best deal on the vehicle that you want to purchase. So I like that. Okay, let's now go to the next thing. Okay, so after interest rates and financial markets, we've got labor market and employment policies. So wage regulations, minimum wage increases or labor rights protection can affect dealership staffing costs and profitability. Some policies may raise operational costs, which could indirectly increase vehicle prices for consumers. Healthcare and benefits regulation changes in healthcare costs and benefits regulations can impact dealership budgets and employment structures. Small dealership especially might feel the strain of increased costs, leading to shifts in hiring or reevaluation of dealership operations. So, guys, we're saying this, but that's not buyers or prospects issues. So, yeah, depending on who the president is or isn't, might affect the dealership in hiring or employees or the amount of employees. This is why first of all, regardless of who the president's going to be at the end of the day, right? Like by the end of today, when they tally everything up, minimum wage has been crazy high. California is like $20. New Jersey is like 15. It's insanity. So that's why there's so many dealers that are outsourcing. Like, as you guys all know, we have a major, outsourced BDC in Belize. Why are we putting on dealers like almost on a daily basis to our outsourced BDC? Because it's too expensive for dealers to have a team of BDC reps in the United States, especially good ones that are training and motivated and professional and excited, yada, yada. So again, whether the president is Republican or Democrat is not going to change that. But that, again, Tianna, in my opinion, doesn't really have a bearing on people buying cars. It's more, the labor and the employment stuff has to do with the dealerships on an operating level. So I don't think that's relevant.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that message is definitely more towards our dealer owners for really kind of worried about this outcome kind of affecting how they're going to pay, everybody that is kind of working at the dealership. And that's why I'm super proud to, be working with Dealer Synergy and be a part of their outsourced BDC team and making dealers super successful in a cost-effective way, because it doesn't need to be super expensive. But that kind of leads us, obviously to our consumer spending patterns, right? So, economic confidence. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about here. Consumers' just willingness to make this major purchase. I mean, cars is tied to economic stability and personal financial security. So when economic policies promote growth and job stability, consumers are typically more inclined, our car buyers are more inclined to invest in newer or higher end vehicles. So I know we were talking about to LA Williams actually before this, because we were like, hey, LA, you're super into politics. Like, give us some tidbits. And he was like, hey, we actually have so much more used inventory than we did, I believe, last year. And I think this kind of ties directly into that, because, used vehicles are becoming more and more available because people are not maybe able to purchase the new vehicles as they used to previously. So now the new, vehicle inventory is kind of going up, but that used market is thriving. So I know, Sean, you and I both, we were super high grossers in our car sales days, especially like flipping a customer looking at a new car into a pre-owned vehicle. Do you have any tips or advice on how to kind of flip somebody if they were looking at a new vehicle? They're like, well, the interest rate and well, the vehicle prices are so high, and I don't know what it's going to be worth, next year around. How would you flip that customer into a pre-owned vehicle? Because that was always my tip, because it was more money in it, and it was also cheaper for them. So what would you say?
Yeah, first and foremost, the best way to do a seamless flip or transition somebody from their original vehicle of interest to something that I have in stock that's pre-owned, has to do with mastering the qualifying process. NADA says the number one reason why people don't buy cars is because it's too much car, too little car, it's not the right car, which basically means they weren't qualified, which means you did not identify the wants, wishes, expectations. So let me break this down. If I'm qualifying Tianna here, and in the qualification process, I'm going to find out what kind of car she's driving now. What does she like about that vehicle? What doesn't she like about that vehicle? Whether it has to do with features or it's the gas mileage or the performance or whatever it is. I need to understand that. I need to understand the purpose of the vehicle. Is it going to be a commuter vehicle? Is it just her day-to-day car? Or is she a soccer mom that is going to be, carting a bunch of other kids around? You know what I mean? So this is important. Then I need to understand fully the vehicle of interest that she's coming in on. Why that vehicle, why that model, why those options. And I need to understand what those costs are. And here's the last part is I need to know my used car inventory completely. Because if I know my used car inventory, it's not just knowing I have X amount of cars in stock that are pre-owned, but I know all the pros and cons. For example, I know the vehicles that were bought here and serviced here. I know the vehicles that were owned by senior citizens. I know the ones that, were owned by non-smokers, and so on and so forth. And so as I understand my used car inventory based on my prospects' wants, wishes, expectations, based on their previous buying patterns, shopping patterns, financing patterns, I will be able to select the vehicle that I have in stock that's pre-owned that will best fit their needs. So does that make sense, Tiana? I know that was a long-winded answer, but there is no magic bean. I can't just say that I'm going to say this and this. It's more than it. I've got to qualify my prospect thoroughly. I've got to truly understand the previous buying patterns versus this buying patterns and this wants and wishes. And once I do, I will be able to cross-reference my active inventory and select, I've got the perfect vehicle for you. So Tiana, we have this 2022 GMC Canyon. It is absolutely gorgeous. And so you don't really need to purchase that 2025 Denali option because it's really expensive. And honestly, we don't have a lot of availability on that right now. However, this pre-owned one hits all of those needs. And with this extra package they put in, it'll be perfect for you. So Tiana, does that make sense? The answer is
No, absolutely.
if you
I
qualify prospect, yeah.
No, I was gonna say, I think if anybody says like a short answer, oh, this is what you say, I think they're lying to you because anything that we do in sales, especially in car sales, it takes that qualification, right? And I think unfortunately in car sales, we make that switch as soon as we show the customer the numbers, right? And then we're like, oh, actually, let me show you this one. Or then they start doing the qualifying, asking all those qualifying questions. So I think the super important part of what you said, Sean, was kind of qualifying as you're, showing the customer the vehicle of interest because you notice, oh, they're like, oh, I love that sunroof, or oh, I love all the space for the kids. Then you can use those exact tactics, that ammunition that they gave you looking at that new vehicle. You can say in the used vehicle, you can say, well, hey, I have a great idea. I know you said you love that sunroof, and I know you want to make sure you had that room in the back for the kids. So I wouldn't show you this unless I thought it was a perfect fit for you, but I do have a, certified pre-owned vehicle that's exactly going to be your fit. That's also going to be much less expensive than this new one. So let's go take a look at that one. And exactly what you said, Sean, it's not no short answer. This is what you say. It's you should have been doing this in the beginning of the process, using all of that ammunition, keeping it in the back of your head so you can say, well, remember you said you wanted X, Y, and Z, and oh, don't forget that this vehicle also has A, B, and C that you wanted. Remember? You're using all of that in the sales process, and unless you aren't qualifying during the process, you're not going to have that ammunition later on. It's kind of like if I play video games, so there's video games where you start with like no ammunition, you just got a gun. So imagine sales as like you just start with no ammunition, and every little nugget a customer is dropping is a little extra bullet for the chamber. Oh, I have to make sure my husband's big dog can fit in the back. We got a big trunk. That's another ammunition. Oh, I have to make sure A, B, and C, another ammunition that you can use. But unless you were not qualifying them, you are never going to get those little pieces of information, never going to get that ammunition, so that way you can get that sale.
The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is on your radio.
This episode is brought to you by Podium. Here's a question. How much would your business change if you had one more employee who worked 24/7 to turn every lead, including the ones that come in after hours, into a test drive, sale, and more money for your dealership? Meet Jerry, Podium's new AI BDC. Jerry is a lead conversion powerhouse designed to respond instantly to every incoming lead, to answer questions accurately, keep leads warm, and schedule test drives, all without direct human supervision. And the best part, with a seamless handoff to staff on the sales floor, customers will never know they were interacting with an AI to begin with. See how Podium's AI BDC can help you sell more cars by visiting podium.com/MCS. That's podium.com/MCS, or click the link in the show notes below.
But I think honestly, all that we were talking about was, just inflation and car prices. Economic policies, can impact inflation and can increase vehicle costs. And this is not something new to us in car sales, right? Especially if you've been in the industry for a long time. So I definitely want to make sure that we are preparing you guys for the future.
So T, let me just recap this, okay, as we start to transition. What I would say is that there is a possibility that you've heard in the last 30 or 60 or 90 days, hey, I'm going to wait before I purchase the vehicle until after the election. Well, today's election day. So I think that's going to change dramatically, from what they said in the past. So we got to figure out, okay, as of today, because at the end of the today, we're going to know who the presumed new president of the United States is, right? Or maybe tomorrow morning, but we have a really good, understanding by the end of today. So what can people say now as of today? All they could say is they can't say I'm waiting, because they're going to know. So that's done. That objection, that pushback is done. The only thing they could say is if they don't like who the candidate is, or they believe that the candidate that becomes the new incoming president, their policies might, not be in sync with that. So you just need to be prepared for what people say. So for example, if Donald Trump is going to be the new president, then you need to be prepared. Oh, I don't want to buy a car because I just found out Trump's going to be president and he's going to do this. You need to be able to at least have the information say, no, that's not accurate. Actually, with Trump being in president, this, and this, or reverse. If they find out that Harris is going to be in president, oh my God, Harris is going to be the new president, and she's going to turn around and do this, that. You got to be like, nope, that's actually not the case, and boom, boom, boom. So whatever it is, be prepared that somebody's not going to be happy. And again, you're not here to make somebody feel happy who the president is. You're here to sell somebody that now is the best time to buy a car. Let me repeat that. It is not your job to give somebody a therapy session on, who the president is or isn't. It is your job to understand, if Trump is president, how is that going to affect, if anything, interest rates or this, that, and the other thing. Or vice versa. If Harris is going to be president, how is that going to affect interest rates or buying a car, if in any way, shape, or form? The end of the day, you have to make people feel comfortable, whoever the president is. And it shouldn't be up to who the president is. It should be up to you with your skills, your abilities to qualify a prospect, be able to build a rapport, to identify somebody's wants, wishes, expectations, to meet them and then exceed them by explaining your dealership's value package proposition. T, anything else that you want to add to that before we go into holidays?
No, I was actually going to ask you, do you hear that? I think I hear jingle bells. Oh my goodness, guys, I am super excited for our next segment because it's a little lighter, right? We're going to be talking about the holiday season. Are you excited, Sean? Holiday season's coming up.
Yay. No, I'm kidding. I'm very excited about the holidays. But before we do, I want to tie in the election day to holidays, because here's what we're going to say is this. Okay, this might be too late for this election cycle, and this is the presidential election, but there's usually elections for other, parts of, local government, state government, or federal government. But think about this. If you guys didn't create videos or create graphics for social media that encourage people to vote, you're missing the boat. Because part of marketing is what's called TOMA, TOMA, top of mind awareness. I'll give you a quick example. My insurance company, Allstate, is phenomenal at reminding me stuff that I need to be reminded on. For example, turn back the clocks. Whenever we're supposed to turn back the clocks, you know how I know? Because my freaking insurance agent sends me a text message and sends me an email the day before. Or if it's spring your clocks forward, right? Either turn back your clocks or spring your clocks forward. This is great marketing. Well, again, you should be at the dealership. If you're at ABC Motors, I remember when MTV created that campaign, get out and vote, or rock the vote. That was it, rock the vote. And
Yep.
it was branding for MTV, 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 but they weren't saying which party. They were just saying, hey, make sure your voice is heard, go out and vote. So I hope that you all did that. And again, I am the firm believer of don't instigate political, religious, or economic things with your customers. So we're not getting into Democrat, Republican, or independent. We're just saying go vote. That is socially responsible. That's professional, and it's content. It's social media content. Now, here's the other thing though, okay? That's on the dealership or dealer group level. It's got to be neutral. But if you are a salesperson and BDC rep, you know this, your customers are going to, some of your customers, maybe even a lot of them, might turn around and tell you if they're Trump or they're Harris. Again, you be neutral. But if somebody's pro-Trump, you could say, go Trump to them privately. You know what I mean? Or if Trump winds up winning, you could turn around and shoot them a text or email, hey, congratulations, go Trump. Or it's Harris, same thing. It's like, again, it doesn't matter what you personally believe, but if your prospect or your client is passionate about something, congratulate them, cheer them on, make them feel good. That is just basic communication and basic relationship building skills. If you're confused, rewind what I just said in this podcast, because I'm not saying do anything controversial. I'm not saying pick a side. I'm saying be neutral, but be responsible. T, what do you think about that?
No, I completely agree. Especially anything that's really going on in the community, right? That's kind of what I was, specializing in, is being involved in the community and how you can market that into your own branding. So exactly that is, obviously you may get some supporters if you lean one way or the other and vice versa. But in sales, it's super important, in my opinion, to just remain neutral, because you're just going to limit your customer base. So as Sean said, it's not therapy session. We're not here to be like, you're right, you voted for the right person, or any of that. It's how can we create urgency right now, today, so that way they can purchase this vehicle, regardless of the year or not.
Now, we are going to have a future episode. I don't know if it's going to be next week or next month, but we will do an episode all about holidays and how to leverage holidays and things like that. But I will touch on this. And again, I'm just kind of bookending the end of this election cycle with holidays, because obviously in November, we've got Thanksgiving. And then, I heard the jingle, jingle bells, or whatever Tianna said before. We've got Christmas, we've got Hanukkah, we've got Kwanzaa, and we've got New Year's. Like, that's a lot. That's not to mention any birthdays or anniversaries or, any of those type things. We have a lot of stuff between, again, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's. So what can you do now? My God, this is where we have graphics on social media. This is where we have videos for social media. It could be organic or paid. This is where we have the ability to do email blasts through our CRM, or email blasts through our permission-based email tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp. Or if you've got a platform like BombBomb, you could do a broadcast video email, or you could do a broadcast video text message, for the upcoming holidays. There's also companies, Tianna, like Send Out Cards. sendoutcards.com. I have no affiliation, but I've used them over the years and I've got a lot of clients that use them. They actually have old-fashioned cards that are printed cards that go through the snail mail, but it's digitized. So it looks like it's handwritten, but they're digitized. It looks like it's a personal signature, but it's digitized. So you could streamline the process utilizing technology and strategy, but giving that old school feel of personalization and the traditional feel of an e-card, but with a traditional card. So I think those type of things are good. Sending people memes or graphics or videos or cards for the upcoming holidays is really professional. What you can do though, I would do season's greetings or happy holidays, because season's greetings or happy holidays are completely universal. That way you won't offend somebody unintentionally, for between Christmas, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa. That could all be covered under happy holidays or season's greetings, unless your prospect or client has crystal clear articulated which one of those is something that they believe in and then they celebrate. And I would recommend that if you had a prospect, let's say Tianna, I know that she celebrates Christmas. She actually loves Christmas, and Easter and the Christian holidays, you should have those type of things sent out. So I would say that if you when in doubt, be neutral or what have you, which is the happy holidays or season's greetings. But if your prospects or clients have specifically identified this is what they believe and what they support and what they celebrate, then I think it's kind and it's professional to be able to celebrate those, not the generics. And then you have the universal holidays that aren't questionable or controversial, like Thanksgiving for the most part, unless you're the Indians and then you're not happy, I guess. But, for most Americans, they celebrate Thanksgiving. Tianna, any thoughts on that? You're the chief marketing officer, you're the marketing beast. Do you agree with what I'm saying is that dealers should be proactive in all these mediums, generically and specifically? Do you have any advice on that, or do you agree with it, or what?
Yes, no, I absolutely agree. Especially with just being cognizant of what days are out there. Because exactly what you said, Sean, you're like, there's so many little random holidays that it could even be today. And there's like a website you go to, like, what national day is it today? And there's a website that tells you all the national days. There's like a National Smiling Day, National Tickle Your Friend Day, National, anything that you can really
Okay,
really
for the
think of.
record, my audience, don't go tickling people at the dealership and saying Sean Bradley and Tianna Mick told you so, because I'm not trying to catch an HR case.
No, but exactly. There's all these random days that you can, cultivate and basically create your own marketing strategy in automotive. So go look at what holidays are out, and it doesn't have to specifically just be around this season, right? Like I said, there's random days that you can definitely pick. You'll have fun looking through those. But the most important part is making sure you're aware, because if you're not aware of when holidays are happening or when events are going on, even the election, topic we were just talking about earlier, right? If you weren't not aware of any of the policies or topics, it's going to be hard for you to have an intelligent conversation with your prospect if you're not engulfed in that. So being a sales professional means that you need to be aware of the current state. So the current state right now is the election year, especially with today being election day or voting day. And then obviously with the holiday season coming up. But every day is technically a holiday. So I would recommend any tips is definitely be cognizant, make yourself aware of any cool little days that are coming up and see how you can use that to your advantage. So yeah.
Hey T, what I'd like to do is this. I'd like next week for us to focus on holidays and what have you, because it'll be like a week before Thanksgiving. So I would love to be able to kind of talk about that, because I would like to, the next episode, we're going to talk about holidays in depth, how to prepare, how to maximize, how to use the holiday as a reason to buy a car now, to create excitement, to create a unique experience. And we're going to talk about sales, because this is what you were just saying, is that, when you said every day is a holiday, what you meant was every day is a sale. Again, people are more inclined to buy something or anything when they feel that it's a special time that they're going to get some type of perks, some freebies or discounts. Because again, that's how we shepherd people in, and we create urgency, and we create excitement, and we create a reason to buy a car today versus, because if every day was equal, then why should they buy today? If there's no benefit in buying today, then why shouldn't they wait and see what happens, or wait for here or wait there? We need to create urgency and excitement. I think next episode, when we talk about, how to truly maximize the holidays and how to, leverage sales to be able to sell more cars. I'm excited about the next episode, T. What about you?
Yeah, no, I have a ton of ideas that you listeners are, I hope, take advantage of, because I've definitely made a lot of sales out of them. So not on the floor anymore. I'm not your competition. So take everything that I say and use it to your advantage.
Absolutely. Well, again, folks, this is Sean V. Bradley
and T got your keys.
And we're super excited to be, here at the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. Shout out to Podium and shout out to Promax NCC, our sponsors. Again, we really appreciate them supporting us to be able to, without them, we wouldn't be able to do the show and be able to help, the tens of thousands of automotive professionals and managers that listen to us religiously. So we appreciate you all. So I'm out. Happy holidays.
Bye. Happy holidays. Talk soon.
Fast response times can help you beat the dealer down the street. Get a tool that can respond to your leads in 15 seconds or less and help you book test drives 24/7, nights and weekends, so you can sell more cars. Podium's AI BDC is a conversational AI employee who sells, schedules, and talks with customers day and night and sounds like your best sales rep. Transform potential interest into sales today with Podium. Visit podium.com/MCS to see what AI can do for your dealership. That's podium.com/MCS or click the link in the show notes.